Now appears as a young child in the home of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna is very heavy. Mother Yashoda found him too heavy for some reason. She was always picking her child up on the lap. At some point in time, the child becomes too heavy to put on the lap. Can't pick up, sometimes you see. The child is much bigger than the mother when they get grown up. So obviously they can't lift up at that time. Although we hear that even when Krishna was very big, when he came back, or when Yashoda met him at Kurukshetra, even when he was fully grown, she would take him on her lap. But generally you think of lifting up a small child and putting on the lap. So that was a very normal thing. You see, the parents, they don't think, they just pick them up. But somehow or other, this small child became very heavy. So heavy that Mother Yashoda found it difficult to keep on her lap. Just like a lump of lead or something like that. So she put him down. This is all for the pastimes of Krishna, because Krishna wanted to enact his next pastime, in which he became as light as grass. The name of this asura, the next asura, next on the list, is Trinavarta. Trina means grass, and Varta means one who moves around. So a whirlwind. Another name is given, Chakravarta, which literally means, just like that, whirlwind. Chakra means a circle, and Vata means air. So the whirlwind is that which makes the air go round and round. That's exactly the same word in English, whirlwind. So when the whirlwind came, naturally all the dry grasses and light things, or even very big things, they get lifted up. Now in the newspapers there's news, so much news about a big hurricane in America which can lift up even houses, blow them to pieces. Of course there are hurricanes like this in other parts of the world also, regularly in Bangladesh. Every year there's one or two like this, but that only gets this much in the newspaper. Whereas a hurricane in America has its front page news every day, because somehow or other the press agencies are run from America, and they tend to give more importance. If one American is killed, it's considered a very serious thing, whereas if 500 Bangladeshis are killed, it hardly rates anything in the paper. So anyway, a big hurricane can blow away big houses, what to speak of little blades of grass. So Krishna became as light as the grass. Formerly it seemed so heavy that Mother Yashoda didn't like to keep him on her lap, although her greatest pleasure in life was to take Krishna on her lap and feed him and look at him, pat his head. Just to see the beautiful face of her young child was the greatest pleasure for Mother Yashoda. And what more appealing situation could there be for a mother to have the child on her lap? The child feels perfectly secure, and the child is looking at the mother is looking at the child. There's a famous painting of Madonna and child. Nowadays if you say Madonna, you think of some big prostitute from America, but that originally meant the so-called Virgin Mother. So that's been imitated in ISKCON also, that picture with Yashoda and Krishna. So it's a very nice picture to see the mother and child. But even though Krishna was sitting very comfortably on the lap of Yashoda, she was very happy to have him there, she suddenly felt, I have to put him down. Unusual. So many unusual things would happen with Krishna around, because he is unusual. Krishna is not usual. Krishna is a child, but he's not a usual child. If he was just a normal child, then he wouldn't be the star of the Srimad Bhagavatam. If he was just a normal child, then why would we discuss? You could say there are so many exciting stories about children. Why should we read Srimad Bhagavatam? And why should we repeatedly read Srimad Bhagavatam? There are so many stories about children. In England, it's famous Enid Blyton stories. Did you ever read those? In Gujarati family also, they Oh, you were brought up in Bombay, right? So your childhood wasn't spent in England. There's so many stories of children. But this story is a story of the most unusual type, the most unpredictable type. Although Krishna's pastimes go on like a routine, there's books are written, it's like Govinda Lilamrita, there's a description of Krishna's eightfold daily pastimes. So what he will do at each time of day, it's quite regulated. Krishna is quite regular. Early in the morning, he'll rise up, and then actually even before bathing, there's milking the cows. First of all, there's toothbrushing, and then milking the cows, and then taking bath, taking a huge feast in the morning. If you read the description, you know that song that Shukta Shakadi Bhaji Nalita Kushmanda Jali Dhavna Satumbi Bhagi Vochakanda. There's a description of all the foods that actually Radharani cooks for Krishna. So many preparations are described. That's actually in the morning, that's his breakfast. Because lunchtime he's out in the cowherd pastures. So lunchtime he takes a tiffin. But in the morning he takes a very big meal. We shouldn't discuss these things on the Ekadashi maybe. And all the nice things that Krishna eats. But Krishna's eating, still he's eating. Krishna's not fasting on Ekadashi. Devotees are fasting. So he eats so many things, and then he goes off to the cowherd pastures, and then in the middle of the day maybe he'll have some pastimes pretending to be the pujari of Surya Dev, Radharani, and will come and meet him in the middle of the day secretly, always secretly. So like this, and he comes back in the evening, again takes bath, has another big meal. He's not a small eater, Krishna. Krishna's not a tapasvi. He eats plenty. He's a hard-working young boy. Goes out to the pasture. And then his mother packs him off the bed, he pretends to go to sleep, and then jumps out the window and goes to meet the gopis in the forest of Vrindavan, and comes back just in time to pretend that he's been sleeping all night, and his mother wakes him up in the morning. So Krishna's pastimes, they appear to be very regular, but you can never know what's going to happen next. That's the fun, that's the excitement. If it was just stereotyped, it might be something like boring, although with Krishna there, it's never boring, because even just to see Krishna is the perfection of life. But Krishna's pastimes, although they go on, there's a basic framework in which they go on there's always something unusual going to happen. Just like now, Mother Yashoda never expected that Krishna would become so heavy that she couldn't put him on her lap. It's unusual. She never heard of such a thing. But anyway, she put him aside, and the next thing, a storm hit, boom, just like that. Mostly these cyclones, they just come very suddenly. Especially here on this side of India, you don't see it. In Bengal, you'll see it in the month of Vaishak. But it'll be very hot all day. And then in the evening about 5 o'clock, still extremely hot, everything will become still. The birds will stop chirping, the insects won't make any noise, there'll be no wind, everything will be completely still. And then when that comes, you know that within about 5 minutes the storm's going to hit. Everything just stops. There's a saying, the lull before the storm, we say in English. So that's the meaning of that is a lull. It means everything becomes absolutely still, and the heat is just intense. And then, Amakasa Puttapasa. I mean, Boishaki Jore Devarantanti. Everything is very still, and then all of a sudden there's a huge storm. And even the houses can be blown away. Definitely your banana trees get blown, if not bigger trees. They get blown down. So the storm just comes, boom. So like that, of course nowadays they have meteorological warning systems and so many things. But this storm, this Trinavata, the Chakravata just came, No one was expecting. All of a sudden there's a huge storm which just lifts anything in the courtyard. Generally in the courtyard so many things will be there. Grains will be out to dry, clothing will be put out to dry, then different agricultural utensils will be there, maybe some stacks of hay. Suddenly a storm has all blown away. But most dangerous thing, Krishna got blown away. When the storm, there was dust everywhere, no one could see what's going on. Immediately Mother Yashoda was wondering, where is Krishna? That will be described in the upcoming verses. Then, because the storm, a whirlwind, it blows in one place and it blows somewhere else, and then the whirlwind moves around a little bit, and where's Krishna? What happened to Krishna? Maybe Mother Yashoda was thinking that because Krishna is so heavy, nothing can blow him away. Generally, however strong the storm is, you never hear of mountains being blown away. The mountain resists the storm. So Krishna was heavy like a rock, but he became again light. This is the quality of Krishna. He's lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest, bigger than Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. He's smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. Now, this is a description, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. This is a description from the Upanishad. So the impersonalists, they generally take this to mean that it's a figurative language, that the absolute truth is impersonal, therefore it's described to be smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Therefore they say that this is not describable by words. Anirvacha is not describable by words. So that's true, the absolute truth cannot be fully understood by any words, but still those words are there, that he is, the absolute truth is smaller than the smallest, is greater than the greatest, bigger than the biggest. He is lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest. And Krishna is the Supreme Absolute Truth, is the most kind. But then, for one who is inimical to Krishna, he can be the most cruel enemy also, most devastating enemy. So in this way, all contradictions are reconciled in the Absolute Truth. Everything is possible for Krishna. And particularly to enact his pastimes, he may sometimes be very light. He was swept away by the whirlwind demon, Trinavarta. Sometimes he's very heavy, when for the sake of his pastime, he wanted to get off the lap of Mother Yashoda. Then, just like he was very kind and sweet with Mother Yashoda, very charming to Mother Yashoda, but to the demon, he shows no mercy. Actually, he shows mercy. By killing the demon, he shows mercy. But he doesn't, Krishna's mercy, that is not the kind of mercy where he simply tolerates and lets everything go on. There's a wrong idea of mercy. There is a wrong idea of mercy, that those who are wicked, they should be forgiven. Just like often you see someone is sentenced to death, and they will try to have the president of the country intercede to grant mercy. Some time ago I was reading some crippled person from England was caught smuggling drugs into Malaysia. So in Malaysia, if you're found guilty of smuggling drugs, it's a mandatory death sentence. The judge cannot award any other sentence but death. That's their rule in Malaysia and Singapore. So the British government was trying to say, well, he's a crippled man, you should let him. They're trying to intercede with I think it was the king of Malaysia. They have a king in Malaysia, rotating. system where different people become the king, one after the other, sultan. Yeah. So they were trying to intercede, and with Muhammad Mahathir, who's the actual, he has the power there. But they refused. They said, we don't have any scope within our law to allow such a person not to be executed. So they have the idea that to be merciful, you should not kill him. But actually, according to Manu Samhita, a death sentence is allowed, not only allowed, should be done. Under certain circumstances, just like a murderer, a killer should be killed. That is the law. And if the king doesn't do it, he has to take the sinful reaction. And if he does do it, then the person who is executed, by that he becomes free from his sinful reactions. To a certain degree, not fully, but enough that it releases him from going to hell. So you may think, well, it would be more merciful to let the person live. But people who say this, they don't have knowledge of the laws of nature. There is a law of karma, that someone who kills another unnecessarily, then he has to suffer a sinful reaction. Therefore, the king is enjoined for the protection of the citizens as a warning to others, and to release that person from his sinful reaction, such a person should be executed. Now, this is one of these moral or ethical questions which is prominent in the world. Is capital punishment correct or not? And from time to time in Britain, they have a vote in the parliament. Should capital punishment be reinstated or not? And regularly they vote no, it should not be. Actually, it's still allowed in England for treason. Theoretically, you can still be hanged for treason. There's still one gallows in Wormwood Scrubs or somewhere where theoretically you could go. So, and they don't make it a party issue. They say that it's not there's free voting, that it's a moral issue that the MPs should have their free choice about. And regularly they vote no, we shouldn't have capital punishment. And there are certain issues like this. Abortion, should it be allowed or not? There's a discussion. Moral issue, what are the pros and cons? There are many such issues. That's why regularly in the parliament, the Congress, the Senate in America, they have discussions on these issues and the public discuss. But actually there's no need for such discussion. These discussions are for people who are in ignorance. For those who are not in ignorance, they simply take what is in Shastra. Shastra says, under this condition, there should be capital punishment. Shastra says, abortion cannot be allowed, and that's it. That's why Prabhupada said that there's no need for a legislative assembly to regularly discuss and change the laws all the time. It's ridiculous. The laws are always changing, and wherever you go, from place to place, the laws are different. If you go from one state in America to another, the law is different. If you go in Europe, you drive for 2 hours, you're already into 3 countries, and the laws are different in every country. It's ridiculous. Why is that? Because they have no fixed standard. They are on the humanistic idea that man should make his own laws according to his own ethics. With the humanistic idea is that everything should be done for the greatest benefit of the human race. But they don't know what that benefit is, the fools, because they think that they are the body. So we should do it. Now what does it mean? That means that everything should be enacted for the highest standard of sense gratification. That is, recently I was seeing that there was some heated discussion, actually went beyond discussion, in America. Some college students, they were saying that, well, they were deprecating Indian culture, that what is this? The women have to cover their heads or something like this. So some Indian students became angry. And Americans said, well, you're coming here to learn from us. Who are you to speak? They said that In America, the American student was saying America is at the highest standard of the evolutionary stage of human culture, because in America there is and his reasoning was that in America there is unrestricted access, or unrestricted what was the word he used? Unrestricted access to the pursuit of happiness. America is set up on this thing, that everyone should have as much freedom and opportunity as possible to have happiness. For happiness, substitute sense gratification. They don't actually know what happiness is. In fact, in America, people are extraordinarily unhappy, which most people in India, they won't believe, because they think everything's great in America. But actually people are extraordinarily unhappy. Someone sent me just a few days ago a Newsweek article. Newsweek is a very prominent and influential magazine in America, published from America, and it goes all over the world. So they had did you see that? About men in America. Men in America as a class are suffering like anything, because they don't know who are they supposed to be. They have a big identity crisis. On the one hand, they're supposed to be like Rambo, Arthur Schwarzenegger. Is that his name? I got it right at last after several years. They're on the TV and they're supposed to be like this, big and tough. But practically speaking, there's only one person in America with a body like that, or maybe 5 or 6. So even if you want to be like that, you can't. About the fat guy who did his exercises. So many young men, or even older men, they spend 2-3 hours a day at a gymnasium lifting weights, so that when they walk on the street, all the girls will look at them. But on one hand, they're being primed up with the heavy macho guys. On the other hand, there's the whole thing of you're not supposed to dominate women, you're supposed to be equal to them. So if you lay one finger even on your wife, immediately you'll be taken to court, and you're not allowed to say anything. You're supposed to be very... On the other hand, from the women's liberation side, there's all this thing coming of men and women supposed to be equal. And on one hand, you're supposed to have this image of dominating others, and on the other hand, there's all this pressure that you should just be mellow and cool and let the women walk all over your head. So I don't know what they're supposed to be. There's this idea of being on top of everything, the American guy on top of everything, but on the other hand, so many of them, they're laid off, they don't have any work. So there's a whole big article written by a woman, actually, about men in crisis. They don't know, after the women's liberation thing, they don't know, are they supposed to be the head of the family, or are they the feet of the family, or is there a family? There's no family. 38% of men in America don't want to marry anyway, because after they get married, and after some time the wife divorces them and takes all their money, whatever they have. Because in almost all divorce cases, it's settled in favor of the wife, and even though they're supposed to be equal, she takes all the loot. So it's a society in crisis. Actually, it's a decadent society. Do you know this word decadent? It means morally bankrupt. It's a typical situation, just like there's this book written, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, in which it describes how by discipline and courage and moral principles the Roman Empire was built up, and then when they got all their money, they became decadent. They became devoid of any moral principles, and then they became weak, and then they were conquered by actually bandits. And ultimately the Roman Empire felt it was just hoodlums and tribals overwhelmed them. So this is the situation. In America, you can see that the society, they have no goal in life. except to enjoy the senses. They think, as Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, that the demoniac people, they think that to gratify the senses until the end of life is the aim of life. And you can see that in the West also. It's quite disgusting how old people, generally you think they're old and they'll be a little sedate, but they're still going to parties and having their hairstyle and doing exercises and as if they're still 20 years old. It's ridiculous. The whole society is insane because they don't know what the goal of life is. They don't know what the goal of life is, nor how to attain it. Actually, it's not that there's not interest, it's just that the leaders are not teaching it. From the school, when you first go to school, and then what you see on TV, simply the society is made, earn money, enjoy life, be prestigious by material acquisitions. And that's, of course, very much in India today, especially maybe more in Gujarat than any other state. Delhi, of course, is a state now. Gujarat, Bombay, Delhi, very much prestige-oriented and fashion-oriented. And we've seen, those of us who have been preaching in India for the last 20 plus years, how people in India are becoming so much frustrated, which they weren't previously. Previously, people in India were quite complacent. They used to say how in the West they have so many family problems, but here we don't. But now they do. Because it's the same thing. Demoniac society. They don't know Krishna. They don't know the goal of life is Krishna. Ahankare mattahaya nitai padapyasarya asatyare satta karimani. They don't know Nityananda because they're puffed up. Because they have some money, they become proud. Because they have some wealth, they become proud. And they become puffed up and they take what is unreal to be real. Therefore they suffer. That simple example Prabhupada gave, that of the cage. You have a nice cage, but you don't take care of the bird inside. So like that, we're taking care of the body, we're not taking care of the soul. We don't care to hear about Krishna. We don't care to hear about Krishna's pastimes. There are so many literatures being produced, there's so many TV programs, there's so much. It's not that there's any shortage of intellectual endeavor or intelligence in the world, but they don't know how to direct it. Therefore the whole society is suffering so much. So this is our aim in life, to introduce topics of Krishna. Prabhupada writes, you'll find early in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes that let people hear about Krishna. People like to hear about others. That tendency is there. They like to hear about the private lives of tennis stars. They don't have any private life, it's all public. They like to hear about the activity. I was just saying now in Dubai, I was speaking to, was it? I don't know, somewhere. That most children, the vast majority of children in India today, they don't know anything about Krishna's pastimes, but they can tell you all about the pastimes of the cinema stars. They know who they're married to now, who they'll be married to next when this marriage is already on the way out. The next one they're getting set up. They can tell you what such and such cricket player likes to eat. They don't know what Krishna likes to eat. Destroying the whirlwind, that's his pleasure. Mother Yashoda is very much concerned. The whirlwind has taken away my son. As far as Krishna is concerned, it's fun. He's enjoying it. You'll see, probably here, they have this so-called Ganesh Puja. I don't know even why they bother having Ganesh. So why don't they just say, put a sign, brothel party bar. Just forget. Why they even bring Ganesh's name in? It's just drunken. They have drunkenness here over in Bombay. It's because there's no prohibition. I thought maybe in Gujarat there's superficial prohibition. Although anyone who wants to get drunk, you can. No problem to get as drunk as you like, as often as you like. You just have to have the money. That's all. So so-called Ganesh Puja is going on. What was I saying? In relation to what? Now I got lost. I thought on the I lost the track of what I was saying. Hare Krishna. Anyway, chant Hare Krishna. Idolize Krishna. We want to know why Krishna, he's enjoying, how he's enjoying his pastimes. How the demon is taking, here I say, in Ganesh, they must be having this, what do they call that, the fair, or they have the wheel, you sit on the wheel, it goes up, and usually at these, they must be having here, I guess you didn't go inside to see. Usually whenever there's any Hindu mela, they bring this wheel. What do you call that in Hindi? I have no idea. Huh? Giant wheel. That's the name in Hindi. Okay. Of course in the West it's a lot bigger and dangerous. They're huge, like higher than this ceiling. They'll have huge wheels and it goes round very fast, so it's very dangerous. Time to time people fall out and die. So they have that, and they have some machine, you sit in it, it goes round and round very fast. So it's scary. People go in it to get scared because you go up on this wheel, you go very fast, and when you go down, your stomach feels like you lost your stomach. So what is the thrill? The thrill is the danger element. The people, they're fast driving. Why do people like to drive fast? Even though it's very dangerous, because there's some thrill in that. So Krishna, he's also enjoying. The Trinavata demon is just like that, a whirlwind. You go up in the air and very fast. So Krishna's enjoying. Oh, this is fun. The young child, he's enjoying. And eventually, because this demon, he's a demon, so kill him, finish. That's the end of that demon. So this is Krishna's fun. Killing various demons, horse demon, cart demon, Putana witch. Krishna enjoys. That's his pleasure. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. This is on the spiritual platform. And the material platform we just imitate. With these, just like these games, driving fast, or without imitate we have wars, which are simply a cause of suffering. But with Krishna there's no suffering. For the demons, they feel there's some suffering, but actually they're liberated also. So Krishna's pastimes, they're full of pleasure, and they're also beneficial to the world. Uttama shloka charitam, sarva loka sukhavaham. Krishna's pastimes, they are beneficial to the whole world, even to the demons. They're benefited by being rid of their demoniac mentality, by being killed by Krishna. So Prabhupada was saying that they want to distribute these books. He writes that let people hear about this. They want to idolize someone, let them idolize Krishna. They take pleasure in hearing about someone did this, someone did that. Let them hear about Krishna. There are so many pastimes, different incarnations. You can read, you can enjoy. It's very enjoyable. Previously Indian culture was that people would come together, they would discuss all these different things. And if there's someone who's very expert, he's studied and knows all the little intricate details, it's very pleasing. In ISKCON we have Radha Govind Maharaj, who has studied the different commentaries of the Acharyas. And so he can tell all the different pastimes in great detail. It's very pleasing. People go to holy places and the pandas, they take them and they tell all the different pastimes that took place. Now, this is pleasing. Not only pleasing, but purifying. So this is our aim, to introduce this culture, reintroduce this culture, these books. Let people hear about Krishna and be purified. Hare Krishna. Any question?
The successful name is not mentioned in our original text of Baroda. So from some other scripture or some other commentary,
well, it's described how there is a shakat, there is a calf, and there's a demon in there who is liberated by Krishna by kicking the calf. So yes, we find in the commentary that the description like that. Shakat, That's what I said. It's exactly what I said. He's not given Shakatasura, but Shakat is described. That's an unusual demon. The demons, they generally take forms, just like we have the form of a bull, the form of a horse. So this also, Trinavarta, is unusual, and he takes the form of a whirlwind. So these are two demons who have taken forms of inanimate objects. So that is described. I described the other day about Shakatasura, how there are different kinds of ghosts. They enter into material objects. It's like you say, a haunted house. They enter into material objects and they can move the object. So the Shakatasura was like that. Your question? Very interesting question. Is the Trinavartasura functioning under Yoga Maya or Mahamaya? Now demon, he is under the three modes of material nature. But Krishna's pastimes, they're not under the modes of nature. But Krishna's pastimes take place within the material world, and Krishna has interaction with the material world by killing demons. So the two come together. Mahamaya is actually an expansion anyway of Yoga Maya. So the Mahamaya, by which the demon thinks, I hate Krishna, that is taken under the control of Yoga Maya for executing Krishna's pastime. So the two things are there together. Actually it's one energy, but that becomes dovetailed by Yoga Maya into Krishna's pastimes. Even in the life of a devotee, what is that? That verse is there. Daiving Prakriti Mahatmanastu Pada, Daiving Prakriti Mashitaha. The devotee is under the protection of the divine energy, internal potency. But he moves in this world, it rains. When it rains on a pure devotee, it's not that it's a special rain from Vaikuntha. It's the same rain that falls on everybody else. By the influence of the three modes of material nature. But the Yoga Maya potency is also working in this world in very subtle and wonderful ways, and we can see that, how the lives of pure devotees, they're often there are many incidences in which you can see that Krishna is acting. Just like there may be some apparent coincidence. Someone just happens, just by coincidence, as they're walking around within the three modes of material nature, they happen to meet a devotee, and then their life changes. I think most people who come to this Krishna conscious movement, they can see there may be many things in their life previous to coming to Krishna consciousness which if you look back at it, you can see that actually Krishna was making some arrangement by which their consciousness would be prepared for accepting Krishna consciousness. So Yoga Maya is active in this world and acts for the sake of Krishna's pastimes and for the sake of bringing Krishna's devotees who are not aware that they're devotees to devotional service and making arrangements for pure devotees. Prabhupada even said that the whole hippie movement, that was an arrangement by Krishna for his preaching. So the whole hippie movement definitely wasn't spiritual, although the hippies thought it was. But it was going on under the modes of material nature, but the two energies, they orchestrate together. There's a divine orchestration. Very wonderful orchestration. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Bal Gopal ki jai, Yashoda Nandana.